Most automations fail, not because they're built wrong, but because they never should have been built at all. Here's what actually happens. Someone on your team does the same thing 3 times in a row, and immediately someone else says we should automate that. So they do. And 3 months later, nobody's using it, or worse, it's quietly breaking in the background and no one notices until a customer complains. The instinct to automate is good. The habit of automating without a filter is how you end up with a graveyard of half-built workflows that nobody trusts and everyone routes around. Before you build anything, there's a 3-part check you should run on every task you're thinking about automating. Not a committee, not a discovery session. 3 questions and the answers tell you almost everything. Question 1, how often does this actually happen? Question 2, how long does it take each time? Question 3, how consistent is the input, meaning does the same type of thing come in the same way every time? Run those numbers first. If a task takes 4 minutes and happens twice a month, you're looking at 8 minutes a month. A decent automation takes 2 to 5 hours to build and test properly. At that rate, you don't break even for years, if ever. That's not automation. That's a hobby project. Here's where it gets interesting. Studies on knowledge worker time consistently show that around 60% of repetitive tasks that get flagged for automation don't actually meet the frequency threshold to justify the build cost. People feel like they're doing something constantly. When they track it, they're not. That's the first trap. Automating by feeling instead of by data. The second trap is messier, and it's where most serious automation failures come from. Input consistency. If someone has to read a PDF, interpret what the client actually meant, look up a record to cross-reference it, and then decide which of 4 paths to take, that's not one task. That's a judgment call that happens to end with a click. Automating that doesn't save time, it just moves the failure point downstream where you can't see it. The tasks worth automating are the ones where the input is always the same type, the decision is always the same logic, and the output always goes to the same place. A new order comes in, it gets logged, the fulfillment team gets notified, the customer gets a confirmation, no judgment required, that's automatable. A client sends a vague email asking for a quick update that is not. So once a task actually passes those filters, there's one more thing to ask before you build anything. What happens when it breaks? Because it will break. An API goes down, a form field gets renamed, a file comes in with an extra column. If the answer is nothing bad happens for a few hours and someone catches it on the next check, fine. If the answer is a customer never gets their invoice and we don't find out for 2 weeks, you need to build failure handling before you build anything else, and that changes the cost calculation completely. A fragile automation that runs perfectly 95% of the time and silently fails the other 5% isn't saving you work. It's creating a new category of problem you didn't have before. The businesses that actually scale well on automation don't have more automations than everyone else. They have fewer, but those automations are solid, monitored, and trusted. Their team doesn't route around the system because they've been burned before. They rely on it because it's reliable, and that's the real pattern worth paying attention to. Because the reflex when a business is growing and pressure is mounting is to hire someone to handle it, or bolt on another tool, or build another automation on top of the last one that didn't quite work. That's not a system. That's debt. If you're sitting on a list of things you should automate someday, run the filter first. Frequency, time cost, input consistency, failure impact. Most of the list will shrink. The ones that survive, those are the ones actually worth your time. Build fewer things. Build them, right? That's how one person runs what used to take a team. If this is the kind of thinking you want more of, subscribe. This is what the channel is about.